Hello and welcome to Fashion Report Friday, the weekly video series trying to get you the most MGP humanly possible from the Mandeville Gold Saucer every Friday when judging begins. Here we are in the Gold Saucer then for week 290, and the theme this time around is Southern Culinarian. The individual clues then include mono a mono for our helm, cooking up a storm for our hands, Near Eastern nights for our feet, and Vatharva for our left ring slot or bottom ring slot, however you want to see that. In this video we have a 100 score, an 80 with dies, and the easiest 80 possible. Okay, for a 100 score, as you can see, nicely done, we have gone for the Scion Adventurer's Monocle. The reason I went for this particular headpiece is because it's obtainable by anybody in the game, and it also has the restriction of level 1 on all classes in the game. So even though you will have to actually progress the main storyline to get this, from the quest for greater obeisance, or purchase this back from a calamity salvager for 100 gil if you've misplaced it, it is one of the best options possible. Alternatives to this, however, do include the Silver Monocle and the Electrum Monocle. Those are the two others that I have tested. Other monocles will probably work, but again, I have not tested those yet. For the gloves then, I went for the leather light mitts. This is something, once again, I chose because it is equipable by all classes in the game, only this time level 5 and above is the restriction. This is something that you can actually acquire from Gwalter or any other low-level city-state armor vendor, such as Gwalter in the Steppes of Thal. You will find Gwalter in the Sapphire Avenue Exchange as usual, and if you talk to him and click on the Disciple of Magic levels 1 to 9 tab, you can get these gloves for 125 gil, I think, something like that. Alternatives to this slot, although there isn't much point in going through those, I'm going to mention at least two. Apparently the Valentione mitts from 2014's Valentione's Day should work, although I have not tested that, and apparently also the Culinarian's mitts, a weaver craft, will also work. However, I don't see the point in alternatives for this slot considering it is equipable by everybody in the game, all classes, level 5 and above. For the boots then, I went for the Favnarian Babausches. These are a little bit more expensive, however, they are once again equipable by everybody in the game, level 1 and above. You're starting to see a bit of a sort of chain here of what I'm going for. These boots then are actually crafted. They are a 1-star difficulty recipe, so they might set you back a fair amount of gil depending if you can craft these yourself or if you shop around. I know for a fact that before Fashion Report, these were actually retailing about 30,000 gil, something around there. They are, since the actual Fashion Report going live today, obviously a lot more expensive. If that is the case and you want something a little bit cheaper perhaps, there are many other options, including the Favnarian sandals, which are a leatherworker recipe as well. You can get those from a market board. The Married Leather Babausches of Crafting should work. Those are vendor purchase, but I believe you have to be a crafter. And the Married Leather Babausches of Gathering will also work as well. Again, I wanted to keep it nice and simple. I already had these lying around, and I did notice that some other servers had these cheap than my current server, Ragnarok, so definitely shop around, use your data center travel if you need to, or find a helpful, friendly crafter if you have one at hand. And then finally, for our left ring or bottom ring slot, depending on how you want to view that, I went for the prototype Gordian Ring of Healing. It doesn't really matter what ring you go for because they're all usable on any class. The only restriction is they are, forcing you to be level 60 and above. This is obviously a problem for people who are not level 60 in the game yet, which is why we chose so many other items that are guaranteed to get you at least 80 points and minimum MGP. But for the 100 score, you will, as you can see here, need to have this ring. So any of the prototype rings or full rings will work. I got this particular ring from exchanging tarnished Gordian bolt. One of those, you can get those on normal mode. I did unsynchronized Fist of the Father just on normal mode. Went in there on my summoner. It took me like, what, 3 minutes? There's like a little mini boss at the start, which was nothing. And then the main boss, Oppressor, was, it just melted. It's just not even worth mentioning. And then you go to, I think it's Hismena, I forget her name, in Idleshire, the left vendor, and on the Gordian exchange you can find one of these rings depending on whatever you want to buy. I just got the healing one because why not? It doesn't matter. But yeah, any of these rings will work, either prototype or full from Savage or normal will work absolutely perfectly, and that's the 100 score. So yeah, not too bad, honestly. Quite easy left side, and we've got plenty of options that we could use for an 80. Speaking of 80s, let's look at an 80 with dies. For the dies then, as you can see, we have an eclectic set here. Specifically, we're getting slightly more points, but that's just for having something in the slots, so make sure you have something in every single slot. As you can see, none of those are actually ones that we would get a gold rating with or anything like that. It is just purely the dies here at work and having something equipped. So we've got ink blue on any weapon in the game, which is NPC vendor purchased. We have snow white on our helm, our gloves, and our legs, which is again a vendor purchase. Then we have regal purple on any chest in the game. This is something you can craft quite easily or get from a market board. And finally, we have ruby red dye on any feet in the game. This is the only expensive one. You can get this either from the market board, or the only other way of getting it is actually from Sky Builder scripts. I don't know if you can get this on your island sanctuary. I forget actually, but you might be able to get it there as well actually. Citation needed, but yes, so that's ruby red on the boots. That's the only thing that makes that slightly expensive. The rest of the dies are really good, and all of that snow white is going to make a very easy combination with the 100 if you want to get some extra points. Definitely. Speaking of extra points, let's look at the easiest 80 possible. Alright, so for the easiest 80 possible, there are plenty of ways you could do this week, honestly. Just make sure you have something equipped in every single slot of gear. You'll notice that it's picking up an extra point for just having any old ring inside that left ring slot, so make sure you have something in every single slot of gear. So all we've done here is we've basically dyed any helm in the game snow white dye. Snow white dye, again, very easy to obtain from in-game dye vendors, such as the Ixali vendors or on obviously the market board. And then we've also combined that with the leather light mitts, which is a level 5 equipable by all classes pair of gloves from Gwalters or any other low-level city-state armor vendors options from the tab of Disciple of Magic, levels 1 to 9, if I remember correctly. And then we've dyed that snow white dye. So the leather light mitts dyed snow white, combined with any helm in the game snow white, with something equipped in every slot, you've got 80 points guaranteed. Very easy. Of course, you could mix and match any 2 items from the actual 100 as well. That would also work if you had access to the Scion Adventurer's monocle, for example. All you would have to do is equip that and then those gloves. Or, for example, if you had the Favnarian shoes, like the Babausches, you could equip that and then one of the gloves. It doesn't matter. 2 items or 1 item plus, 2 dies equals 80 points. Very easy peasy. I hope this was helpful. More videos on the way. We've got a lot of really cool stuff upcoming, including a Moogle Treasure Trove event, which I'm very excited for. Much love, and I'll see you all next time.